welcome to the Self-Made Book Channel interview series and podcast. I'm Bianca.
And I'm Byron.
And today we are interviewing the amazing Louise, or should I say Dr. Louise? And we're going to be talking about her fantastic career at the Greenwich University. But before we do that, we'd love to hear a little bit more about your background and how you ended up at Greenwich.
Sure, okay, so it's a very long and convoluted journey. So I'll start from growing up in Nottingham. So that's where I was born and raised. I spent the first couple of years on a very interesting council estate next to the worst place to live in Britain. But anyway, we don't go there. And then I think as a kid, I was a really sort of inquisitive child. I was naughty, I'm not going to lie. You know,
okay. Is inquisitive is the alternative word for naughty, or was it a bit of both?
Well, I think for Africans, I think inquisitive is naughty.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
But so I grew. I was sort of very into things. I was always asking questions. I was always reading. I was always in trouble for asking those questions and stuff. But yeah, so it kind of started there. I really liked reading and writing, and I used to get entered for newspaper competitions and stuff because of my stories and whatnot. And from there I kind of started studying sociology at the age of 16 at GCSE and stuff, and I began to really love it because I could see that it really relates to everyday life situations. It relates to the people around me. It helped me to understand my family. It helped me to understand me and stuff. So then from there, that kind of passion carried on in because I didn't start off in academia. I kind of worked in the civil service. I worked with kids who were getting excluded from school, but all the knowledge that I got from there just really kind of helped me. So from there, I worked at the Home Office for a little while. That was interesting. In a lot of ways,
yeah.
So it was making policy, but I won't say too much there.
Okay.
Anyway, but I decided that wasn't really for me and stuff, because I needed to be working in an area where it was just directly impacting on people, helping them to kind of develop in the ways that they wanted to be. So there's a little bit of a life coach in me. I think it's always been there, And then in 2005, so I turned 30 that year, and I was just like, do you know what? I'm going to do my PhD. I mean, before that, I went to Spain because I had to kind of figure myself out. I was going through this quarter-life crisis and everything, trying to figure out who am I, where am I going and stuff. And then I was just like, yeah, you know what, you've got to go and do your PhD. You've got to do it in an area, again, that's sociology, but then speaks to your story and speaks to the stories of other British Ghanaians, and I can talk about that in a bit. And then, so in 2005, I started it. Got quite seriously ill in 2006, but that just made me all the more determined I have to finish it and stuff. And then in 2010 I graduated, and since then I've been teaching, and
Okay, you haven't left Greenwich since?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've been to other places. I did my undergrad at UEL and my masters and I started my PhD at Goldsmiths. But
what was your masters in?
Social policy. So again, it was people.
Yeah.
Okay. And the PhD?
Okay, so it's called Between Two Lives. So it's just kind of analysing the relationships between British-born Ghanaian, their parents and their career choices, but academic and career choices. But then I was also kind of looking at the personal things. So how did their parents shape the decisions that they were making? What was the relationship that they had with them? Because in a lot of Ghanaian or sort of West African families, a lot of the relationship is kind of predicated on education and how well you're doing professionally and everything, and in a way you can't blame them for that because they're migrants and they want better for us and everything, but that created a lot of tension and impacts on the individual and their self-esteem and stuff like that. So that was my thesis.
The thesis. Wow. Really interesting.
It was interesting doing it, I tell you. Really interesting. I mean, my stories was very much their stories, and I think that was the thing that just kind of I need to get this out here. Other people need to be able to relate to this, and that's
excellent.
it. Yeah.
Love it. And now you lecture, obviously.
I do.
And how long have you been lecturing?
So I've been lecturing since 2005. So I was a kind of visiting lecturer when I was doing my PhD, and then I became full-time and permanent in 2010.
So what would you say the best thing is about lecturing?
Right, there's a lot of things I
on.
really like.
Give us them all.
Okay, so I think the first thing is, as I say, engaging with people, because you're not just teaching them the subject, but you're teaching about life and you're hearing about their lives. and it makes you think about yourself and the way that you engage with things. So that, I think there's that aspect of it. Obviously the subject area is good, but then you can kind of like relate it to other things that are going on in the wider world, but also in their own lives and stuff. And also like you can do it in a way that you want to do it, because it's really easy just to pick up a textbook and start regurgitating that kind of stuff. I refuse to do that. I want to talk about what's going on, I want to make it relatable to people. And I think I'm not very good at using these big 29 syllable words. I like to just kind of keep it simple.
Cut to the point.
Yeah,
to the point.
Yeah, and maybe that's my Notting, and maybe that's like, my Ghanaian, I don't know. But I just don't like but I want it to make it relatable and stuff. And my students, they give me life. They really, really give me life, because as I say, I learned so much from them, and especially now, because when I look at when I was a student, it was a lot simpler. Money, I didn't have to pay to go to university. They're all paying. Lots of them are going through struggles and stuff like that. So the fact that they're there, the fact that they're trying to engage and move forwards and stuff, so that's good. And I think in a lot of cases, they're really, really bright, but they don't see it. They don't see it and stuff. And had they gone to maybe another university, it's like they'd be left in the deep end and stuff. But I'm just like, you know what, you lot can do it. You're bright, you can do it, engage. So like it's helping them to get that confidence. Because I see a lot of myself at that age in them and stuff. But obviously it's a lot harder for them. So yeah, and also getting to rant about things that annoy you.
Yeah.
Is
that's because of the subject?
It is about, but it's also what you see.
Yeah.
So like my passion is like education, raising it, especially of like black and minority ethnic, because I think all we ever hear is how bad people are doing. Like you never hear, and it's been like this for more than 50 years. And I'm just like, no, like we need to change this narrative about things. We need to kind of like see things. We need to paint a different story. So like, wherever I can, I'm always just saying, well, look at this person, they did it. If I can do it, coming from Bestwood, you can do it and stuff. So it's about challenging, it's about ranting. Sure. Actually, I did say that, didn't I? But it is about challenging the narrative.
Do you find that the students that you speak to and you get to know, do you find that they're going to university of their own volition, or is it because their parents have kind of prodded them in that direction?
Well, in some cases. So like I was talking to one of my students currently at the moment. She's 35, she's a mature student, and she decided that she's just going to go of her own vote. She tried it before, but it just didn't work out. But she's come back of her own volition. But I feel like with some of the younger ones, it is that. But then it's not just the parents; it's school.
That's
because
that's what I would say.
Yeah,
I just want, because I think African and Caribbean parents do push you towards university.
Well,
is it?
But then the argument could be because a lot of students are first time.
First generation
going to university, right? And I think that is, for me anyway, personal experience, is more the schooling system.
Yeah.
They didn't show me any alternative. They gear you up to when you finish your
A-levels,
your GCSEs, you're doing your national record of achievement to go to college, and then once you finish college, you're doing your UCAS to go to university. That was the path. There was no alternative,
space.
And that was fill in which university you're choosing. We're going on this day, this day, and this day.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because actually how I ended up at Greenwich is interesting because I didn't even apply for Greenwich.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a whole other story.
No.
But that's the kind of the path that they set.
Yeah.
And I feel like now, obviously, with the whole marketisation of education, and it's not just at university level, but it's at school level, because everything is about the league tables. It's about how many people are going to university and everything, and how many people are getting whatever grade. So that puts on a lot of pressure for the students. So like you've had that with right from the age of 5 when you're taking SATs and everything. So you've been tested all the way through. If you don't do well, then it's the impact of the school. If you don't go to university, so it doesn't give them any breathing space. I mean, I was talking to my niece about this. So she's 21 and she's doing a gap year in Spain. But she did a gap year before she went to university. But she said that a lot of people in her year group went straight on. There was no breathing space. And they've dropped out. And you can see this happening with people. They're dropping out because because of this pressure, do you know what I mean? And they can't take it, and it's not because if they'd have had a break, or if they'd had a break and they came and did it when they were ready, it might have been very different. But like they're just like, I can't do this.
Do you agree with gap years? You think it's a good thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I didn't do it, and I didn't do it because, to be honest with you, I just wanted I wanted to go to university anyway, but I also just needed to get out of Nottingham because it was just doing me head in actually. But you know, I think if it's the way forwards, and then it will really make you think, do I want to do this or don't?
You'll
and
make a decision. If you go back into it after taking a gap year, you know you want to do it.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to take a gap year.
No, I wasn't. Yeah.
My parents said, they're like, gap year? No. You can do that after you finish university. Yeah. Realistically, who does a gap year after university? I say this actually, there's one girl who went to my school, I'm sure she's still on a gap year. She just never went, never did anything. But
there's always one person, I feel it's like a trending thing, right? So one person within the group says, I'm doing a gap year. They've researched everything there is to know about a gap year, right? Yeah. And they've got their plan and pathway, maybe virtue by their circumstances or whatever it might be. And then other people are like, I'm thinking about doing a gap year. I don't think you naturally think of doing a gap year. I don't even think that was presented as an option.
It was presented in my school, but my parents were like, no, you're going to go to university, do your gap year after if you feel like it. But I think the feeling was, you might do a gap year, get used to making money in that gap year and never go to university. I think that was the fear.
Yeah.
Which is not always the case. Like you said, some people just need to find themselves for a year.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, her older brother, he actually started doing a shipping course and stuff, and it was good because he was sponsored by, Cunard, but he just found out that it wasn't for him. So then he came back to university when he's 21. And he's doing really well for himself, So
because now you want it, and you know why you need it.
Exactly.
I think sometimes you're just doing it because you're supposed to. You just pick a random course that someone's told you to do. Yeah, absolutely. Where did you go to uni?
Sussex.
Okay, how did you? Did you have?
I loved it. To be honest, I had a great time at university, but I think I did a business management economics degree because I felt I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to be in business. Realistically, I don't know how much a business degree contributes to your knowledge as an entrepreneur. I think you can get out there and you would learn a lot more. But that said, that 3 years gave me time to understand the academic structure behind business, the foundations of that side of it. But it also gave me that chance to get a job and go into the world of work and then understand what I wanted to do and then start a business. So that 3 years kind of buys you time to grow up.
Yes.
But it's an expensive tool to grow up in now.
Now it is, especially.
So I could afford it then, but now
it's like 3 times the cost
£9,000 a year plus maintenance. That's 18 grand a year.
I mean, and the thing is, sometimes the maintenance grant, because this is one of the things that worries me, because I see that causes the students stress, because sometimes they don't have enough money for like maintenance and stuff, because the family is seen as earning enough. But it costs a lot to travel in. So these are the kind of issues that they're facing, along with the other pressures of doing well and everything else. So I really, really feel for students, which is why I think a gap year is never a bad idea, because then you can think, okay,
do I really want this?
Can I afford it?
You spoke about being a guest lecturer. What does that entail?
Okay, so when you first start your PhD and stuff, I mean, you can't. Some institutions, they may take you on full time, but when I started, I mean, I hadn't taught academically before. So I came in as like a visiting lecturer to teach a first year course. So that's what a lot of PhD students do. So I did that for a couple of years. I did that for about 4 or 5 years before I came sort of like a full-time member of staff. And it is fine because there was more flexibility, because I didn't have to do all of the admin or anything. It was just the teaching. And which is fine because it gave me the time to do my work, to do my PhD. So.
And would you recommend it to anybody to do that?
Yeah. I would, because it gives, because I mean, I think it's about the knowledge, but it's also the experience, and it will also help you decide, do I want to do this or not? Do I want to go into academia? Because some people don't. Yeah.
Do they give you lots of training to become a lecturer, or?
I didn't have any. I was just.
I'm thinking is there a format behind lecturing?
No.
Because when you do your PhD, you become an expert in your field, but there's no PGCE format. They're not teaching you teaching, are they?
No. I mean, I remember having to do
You know like how our teacher friends went to do for a teaching course?
But then they are at school level, so they have like a syllabus, like a particular. You know, like,
but they get taught how to create a lesson though. They get taught lesson planning. Do you get that as a?
Okay, so when I first started, no, I didn't have that. But I do remember doing a day's training on, teaching. So I still got my certificates. That was 10 years ago. And then at the end of it, I had to do a PG cert, which was great fun. Can you see the sarcasm? It was a barrel of laughter. So I had to do that. I mean, now it's changing, but while you're doing your PhD, you just have to do your PhD because there's enough with it.
There's enough work.
Yeah. So you can go on and do it afterwards.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
What was the first thing you did when you got your doctor title? So it's just a random thought that came to my mind.
Okay.
I'm thinking about what you want to do.
I want to. Yeah, I just thought.
Okay,
yeah.
so well, you can do it. I was just thinking about the morning of the Viva. Oh God, I felt like I was on death row that morning because my.
What's a Viva?
Okay, so at the end of it, you have to you have two examiners, and they just kind of ask you questions about it and everything, and
about
your work, and basically just to verify that you've done it.
Okay.
So I remember they were late. They were an hour late, and I was just like, oh my God, I was sweating, and this woman was trying to give me chocolate with creams in it. I'm just like, this is what you don't do because I'm gonna be sick. Anyway, so afterwards when I got it, I screamed. I was just like.
They told you there and then.
Yeah, they told me. I think it's because I'd been waiting for so long. So afterwards, I went out and screamed, and then I called my dad. I called my mum and dad and stuff, and I said, "Oh, you know what? I've done it and everything." And then, my dad started screaming in the middle of us. So and then I called my sister. My sister started crying on the other end of the phone and everything. So I just called up my family and just told them all and stuff.
And then where was the first time you wrote down doctor? When you fill out applications, do you put doctor and everything?
Some things, yeah. So I mean, some things. So my passport, I have on some of my bank statements, I have and everything, but. I think for me, the title is good, but I just think for me it's more about the passion of doing it and just getting that message out and everything. So I think that's.
Do people treat you different though?
I mean, it depends on the context. So I'm just thinking of when I went to Ghana. So I did my first ever international conference in Ghana 3 years ago. So obviously that's my country of origin and stuff. And then you go there and it's just people were very, what's the word? Doctor this, doctor that, doctor, and they couldn't do it, falling and stuff like that. And I'm just I'm just Louise, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Just embrace it.
Yeah. No,
that is motivation for me. I'm getting my doctorate.
I thought so, but then there was another very interesting experience I had because, this man just came up and he just goes, why aren't you married? And he's just going on and on about that and everything, and I should put it aside, but I was just oh God, I'm just like any of the other people that have come to present here. Do you know what I mean? And
so being a doctor wasn't enough for him. He wanted you to be married as well.
So let me ask you a question.
Pregnant.
You can't obviously have both, right? You can't have doctor and Mrs. Which do you choose?
This is
there's the right answer and then there's the answer you answer when your husband is sitting next to you. I don't know which one is the answer for this.
Just pretend I'm not here.
I feel like you need to help me.
You know what? Right. I mean, I think it is going to depend on your partner.
The circumstance.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Byron. People help me here.
Which do you choose?
I mean. I don't know an answer to that.
Do you know what?
When I come across this problem, I will come with a solution.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think, listen, you've worked for it, haven't you?
Yeah.
You worked for it. So, you call yourself...
But he would say, he worked and I worked towards being called Mrs. But, I mean, look, what did you sacrifice when we got married? You didn't have to change your name. So if I get a doctorate...
That is a whole another podcast.
Oh, that's deep.
All right. You didn't know you were coming to this today, did you?
It's useful.
This is real life.
Yeah. But no, I think listen, you just got to remember that you work for it.
Yeah.
You know, and also it does depend on the context that you're in and stuff. But I know some women, if they see it on a letter and it's just Miss Smith or Kwarteng or whatever it is, or stuff like that, and it's just like you can see the steam coming out of their ears and that. But I think you've worked for it, so you should be able to.
What's next? What do you do after? You've now got a PhD. Is there anything else you want to do
so
in the education world?
Yeah, so I became an associate professor. Was it the 9th of August at 4:24?
Oh wow!
And,
what is that?
Okay, so it's through the sort of like lecturing track. So you become a lecturer, then a senior lecturer, and then associate professor, and then professor, and that. So for me now, I'm just sort of like working towards becoming a professor. And again, it's not about the title. It's just more because look, you know what? I have so many other young black people, and especially young black women, who may want to go through this thing, but they can't. Because, not that they can't, but they feel like they can't because of the structures. Because I read a really interesting article in The Guardian the other day, and they were just talking about how some students kind of like stop their undergrad because they don't see anyone that looks like them and stuff. So I'm just like, right, okay, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show them the way. And if I can do it, like, this scatty girl from Nottingham can do it, and who was told that she'll never make it to university, then so can you. And I also I feel like I've got a responsibility to all the other people that are coming up behind me in my family, because I was thinking about this today, because on my Facebook timeline a picture of my nan popped up, my dad's mum, who I was named after, and also my mum's mum. And I was just thinking to myself, you know what, they couldn't read or they couldn't write. My mum's mum fought so that my mum could go to school, and it just caused a whole, like load of trouble in the village that they came from and stuff. But she fought, so I'm just like, do you know what, I owe it to them as well to go as far as I can. So, that's kind of like my motivation, so I have to do it. I have to do it for the lot that are coming up, but the lot that have gone before me as well.
That's fantastic.
What
more do you have to do to become a professor?
Well, a lot more publishing, got to raise a lot of money, just you can do it in different areas. So you could do it via research, or you could do it by teaching and learning. So I've done it by teaching. I've become associate professor of teaching and learning. So I think that's the route I'm going to carry on along and stuff, and more international conferences and more media stuff, and just those kind of things. But I'm gonna go for it.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. I feel as a student you don't know there's levels.
You don't even think about it.
You just think your lecturer's a lecturer. You don't actually think his lecturer then.
You don't even think they have a life.
Yeah, I mean,
genuinely, I think. You don't even think that they actually they're here to take. It's What's something fun that you would like your students to know about you?
Okay, so I don't know if I'm gonna risk this. I'm still
maybe you shouldn't.
Okay. No. So I play the bass guitar.
Oh wow!
I'm not great at it, but so I'm just debating. Do I show them a clip of me playing the bass guitar? You know what I mean? So I play that. I'm a Nottingham Forest fan. I mean, they know that because I tell them. I just share me and stuff. I don't hide stuff. So I play the bass. I'm just quite a silly person.
So we want to know what you guys think. Do you want to see a performance in your next lecture or not? Put it down, comments below.
Oh God! It was really interesting because we did at the beginning of the term. With the third years, we always do this thing about it's called "Am I Lying to You?" So I get them to it's a personal thing. So I just said that, okay, well, I play the bass and stuff. And I said it with a very, very straight face. And, none of them believed me. And I said, okay, ask some questions and I'll tell you. So I started, they started asking questions. At the end of it, they didn't believe me. So then at the end of the degree, I posted a video up and stuff like that. And then one of them just put underneath, she wasn't lying, was she? So... Yeah. Hey, you know what? If I do it and it goes wrong, it goes wrong.
Yeah. I like that. I feel like your lectures would be really interesting.
Yeah.
My lectures were not very interesting. Sorry, I just remembered I'm recording.
Yeah. You know what? You should call.
Some of them were.
Yeah.
Some of them just was. It was painful.
Oh God.
And that's why I think when I'm delivering workshops and sessions now, I try and make them interesting, interactive, like bubbly. I try to be really passionate. And I don't think some people just like that. Yeah. But now I think about it, you realise actually your lecturer might be a PhD student who just actually loves research. Yeah. They don't actually like teaching, or they're not taught. You just don't realise that when you're a student.
So I feel like there's a bit of a break between students and I guess the lecturers. What I mean by that is, in college and school, I feel like you have a lot more dialogue and a lot more relationship.
Yes.
And then when you get to uni, I feel like that breaks.
Yes.
And you don't even really have any engagement. In fact, you maybe it's my experience, but maybe you're just like 001. They don't know you unless there's a problem. Unless something happens, there's no real.
Or you
dialogue.
make yourself known. And I think there were some people who were really good at that, who were probably good at defining their personal brand with their lecturer. And they made sure their lecturer knew who they were.
And is that because they asked more questions?
They asked more questions. They asked for email time or meeting time. I don't think we just went and
you go in.
You go and you.
So you've got to make yourself known.
Yeah.
I think you have got to make your, but also, I mean, the thing I remember is that, look, you know what, I'm human. My students are human as well and stuff. And sometimes, they just need someone to talk to. Do you know, like, for example, this afternoon I spent 2 hours with that one student and we were just talking about life. We're just talking about life, and sometimes that's just what they want to do. They just want to talk about life because they'll go back to their halls or they'll go back to wherever it is and there's no one for them to talk to and stuff. So we'll talk, we'll go for a coffee or we'll cry if we need to cry,
It's life.
So yeah, it's life. So I just try to be that. And if some of them go through things and it's just like, if I've experienced it, I'm not afraid to sort of say, look, I've been through this is how I dealt with it and stuff. I mean, I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but think about it. So I'm just happy to share I just see people are people.
Yes. Yeah. What top tips would you give for someone who wants to follow in your career direction?
Okay, it's interesting you ask that. Okay, well, the first thing is be yourself, because I think there is a perception of what an academic should be, what it should look like, and often it's a white middle class male straight thing. And I just refuse. Obviously, I'm not white middle class, male, but I just think be yourself. Don't try to be what you're not. Okay, so I mean, I'm like, in terms of the way that I dress, for example. I mean, today I've come relatively normal, but like for most days, some days I'll come in, I'll wear I've got 2 different shoes. I don't really care. People know. So I think be yourself. Don't try to sort of be what you're not. If you don't speak using 29 syllable words, don't. Just keep it simple, keep it real. So that's number 1. Number 2, teaching something that you're passionate about, because otherwise students are going to know that you're not interested in this. So I think just do that. And number 3, remember that your students are human. Okay, remember that also, if you are of my generation, remember that things for them are not the same as they were for us. Do you know what I mean? So remember that they go through things, they go through life. If they can't come to a lecture, it doesn't mean to say that they're not dissing you or anything like that. Sometimes they can't afford to get there, plain and simple. So find out what's going on with them. Don't just judge them. That's what I've just said. Just be human.
Yeah.
I like that.
I love it.
I feel like that's good lessons for anyone in any career. In fact.
Lessons,
it is. But I think sometimes, I'm not saying that this is definitely not true of my colleagues and that. But you hear other stories of other people in universities, in other universities and stuff, and it's just like, they don't know who their lecturers are, and they don't know who, or if there's a problem, you can't go to them and that. And I think that if you're coming into academia, because some academics as well, it's not just that they are pretending to be what they're not. Some of them just think that, they think they're too good, and they can be a little bit arrogant about the fact that they are academics, and that's what gives us a bad name. That's because academics, some of them, I don't know if you saw that thing about Dominic Cummings the other day, when he went into number 10 and he was wearing his trousers were kind of half.
No.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I saw on Twitter someone had said that, he's just like an academic who would just kind of turn around and say, I don't care, and I'm the bee's knees. And I just thought, God, this is a really bad perception of us. Really bad perception. We're not all like that. So don't act like you think that you're better than everyone else, because you're not. Yeah. So I think
makes sense.
There's a few careers like that, I guess, where everyone gets get a bad reputation, isn't it? Bankers, academics.
Estate agents.
But it's just not cool not to be. I just think, and also remember, like, you just on your way up, people can just, you can go down the same way, you meet the same people.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think that's it. That's my thoughts.
Thank you so much.
No,
Is there a question that you would like to ask us?
Well, I would like to say thank you, actually. I'd like to say really, really thank you for, having me today and stuff. Because when I remember seeing the email about the portraits in the first place. I was walking down Albert Bridge and my phone buzzed and, there's a crack in the pavement. I looked at the email and nearly blooming fell down. And it was just wobbling and whatever, sweating. And then, I got this email from, I think it was Esther that sent it, and then I saw it. I was like, "Yeah, man, I'll do it." So thank you very much for having me here today.
Yeah,
so thank
it's
you.
been great.
Yeah, can I have a photograph?
Yes.
Yeah. I need to go in the WhatsApp. I'm building up my list.
I love that.
Yeah.
It will be our pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem whatsoever. Okay.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Louise as much as we have. So thank you very much. I've been Bianca.
And I'm Byron.
And Self-Made.
Your success.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.